little bit of settling. You're going to Bondo this probably twice. Depending on how good you are with it, you might bond it 3 or 4 times until you get, proficient with it. But the end result is you want some wiggle room here that's going to have Bondo in it. So once that gets cut or gets marked, you're going to use your jigsaw and cut that out. This cutout needs to be saved because we're going to use it here in a minute when we start gluing. On the back side, we've taken some more 3/4 inch and we've stripped it on the back as a shelf for that to drop down in on. Instructions, and you'll notice from this side you'll see some laminate laying in there, some strips of laminate. The book will tell you that once you have your support pieces put in, and that can be screws, nails, whatever works for you. But once you set that in there, you're going to want the sink itself to be up proud about, I believe, 3/32. I think that's what it is in there. Now, that's all open for, I guess, debate to some degree. First of all, if you're doing this type of a sink, an acrylic sink, you can sand this down and sand the sink and the edge without any issues. On a stainless steel product, you got that 1/8 inch stainless there that's a little difficult to sand. So the issue for me is I like to start out flush with that one. This one, I don't have a problem lifting it a little bit because it's going to sand a lot easier. The other thing too is let's face it, this is a laminate top. This isn't solid surface, it's not granite, this panel is not baby bottom flat and or smooth. So there's some undulation in it, some irregularity. So you want to make sure that you're using, or you're actually probably doing the custom technique as opposed to a post-form top. The post-form top is a whole nother story. We're not even going to go there tonight because of its difficulty and the issues that can be associated with it from telegraphing. Also, you can see some telegraphing will vary from the different colors of laminates that you're using. That also can be triggered by the amount of seam kit that you put here. In this case, a little is better than a lot. So what I've done with this, we actually dropped it in back there and we determined that in fact it was pretty flat, wasn't it? Yes. But going by the old rules, we thought we would run with those this time on this particular one, and you can take a look at that one back over there, the stainless that actually was set flush or net. So we've got it up, we got it probably that 3/32 where it should be. We're ready to do Bondo. So Bondo is available, at all of your car dealers, suppliers, and or part stores. And if you're good at this, you probably hit it maybe in 1 or 2 batches. And if you're still kind of on the curve like I am with it, some days are better than others. I think this one's about empty. And of course, if you've worked with this much, you can make it hot or it's a little slower. We'll see where this ends up. If this is a critical situation where this sink needs to be, and I think we've got it pretty well loaded in here where it needs to be. I like to start on one end and sort of maybe have some marks for registration so you don't shove it all to one side. Start on both sides to sort of work it in. And again, you're going to have to sand what's left over here, so sometimes it's a little better to be a little more sparing with it. Like I said, there will be some shrinkage. That's not such a bad thing. So at this point we can do some questions if anybody's got any yet.
that the only filler you can use?
This is the only recommended filler, yes sir.
I know some of you have done some of these already. Anybody got any questions about any of the previous applications they've done?
You had success, issues, problems? Yep, cool.
You do the Bondo the same on the stainless as you do the acrylic?
Yes sir. The Bondo and then the seam kit that is used are both the same on both products.
In selling these, I've had a few questions from the end user, the client, being, well, you know, if I got a big old Dutch pot in here and a stock pot and I'm filling it full of water or vegetables or whatever, you know, is that going to hold that weight? What kind of strength does that have with the Bondo and the shelf that you built for that?
The Bondo here, whoever wants to get in this and stand on it, in it, when we're done is welcome to. Somebody's got a little 2-foot piece of 2x4 out there in your car, bring it in, we'll beat the living daylights out of that edge. And it works real, and it'll be just fine.
There's actually some
I'm afraid of heights,
advertisements and pictures on the internet about that, where it does show somebody standing in one of those after they've gotten it all mounted in there.
Yeah.
But it has been I've had that question come up, maybe probably on half of the ones that I've sold so far, and it's not an issue. I mean, you can reassure them, you can even show them pictures of it on the internet if necessary.
It is, as they say, it is a non-issue.
The Bondo provides the strength though.
Yes.
Not that little bit of lambda up there.
The Bondo,
It's filling your joint. It's acting as a bonding agent and adding that structural integrity all at the same time.
Now Bondo makes a product that's supposedly for home repairs. You guys use one that's for auto bodies?
this is the auto body stuff. I personally wasn't aware of the other.
Right.
They sell it at Home Depot and Lowe's too.
Do they? Okay. The enemy.
Thank you for saying that.
You know, the book says this should take about 10 minutes, and it will. In most cases, we'll look at some tools here as this is setting up. I've yet to see anybody that can hit it the first time, because again, there's a lot of sagging, again, depending on the amount of support you have underneath there and how well that is. Hopefully we don't have any of it running on the floor yet. Got the majority.
You know how he swings that now.
I saw that earlier.
Why do you want the stainless steel so much more flatter than the acrylic?
The only
You can't
thing,
sand it?
because the actual stainless itself, that rim is actually hard to sand actually, because we're gonna sand this all the way out to the edge. It's got to be flat. So over there you've got what, about 3/4 inch band of acrylic that sands very nicely. Then you got an 1/8 inch of stainless steel, and that is, you know,
That's when you're gonna stop.
that's where it gets hard to sand, or takes longer. So we're gonna let this guy start to set up here. In the book, and as you start looking at different things, there's different parts and pieces and tools that work nicely to have. And again, you know, these are all available, but in most cases they're probably in the next city over or wherever they're at. I'm not sure how well we're stocked up down here with them, but I know in Kansas City and Springfield we're sitting pretty good. And as the market grows, you know, so such will the stock. But these different scuff wheels and sanding balls are very applicable to the stainless, and also transform over to the acrylic sinks. This sanding device here works nice and can be either ran with an air tool and or a drill. Again, it doesn't always work in every situation because of the length of it. Obviously it's not going to work in this sink. And from the stainless to this, the router bits are different. Over there, you're going to start and use a 10-degree bevel. Once you break through and route out the main piece, then you'll take that 10-degree and work your way down in very small increments to the stainless, to where you're just kissing it or leaving the actual glue from the seam kit on the edge. That stuff just peels right off, and actually as you get to that point, it'll start to break away and you'll know when to stop. So the stainless, if you do get into it, sandpaper, 150 grit, pads or paper work well, as long as you're sanding with the direction, of course, of the stainless. And from the other aspect, the seam kit gun, if you don't have, becomes important to have. Two-part epoxy, similar to a solid surface kit. Probably the issue on nozzles, you'll get a kit, and they're available in brown and or white or some other off colors, but in most cases with laminate it's going to be brown because your backer's brown, and that's, you know, what you want to see there. As I say, these parts and pieces are all based on onesies. You can buy them one at a time individually. The seam kit will come with 2 of the mixer tips. While we also sell solid surface, they look the same, but they're not because of obviously this part. So if you're ordering these additional, which, you know, 2 of these may or may not last you that whole tube, depending on how much sink you're doing at what intervals, but these are available to order in addition for it. Check them when you get them. We've been known to send this one for this one and vice versa, so not that we planned it that way or mean to ruin your day, but if you know, check it out early, so if we gave you the wrong one, we'll get some other ones out to you.
Do you use that 10-degree bit on this sink also, or just on the
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're going to start out with the 10-degree bit to get the excess gone, and then we're actually going to switch off to 1/4 inch on with about a, where are we at here? About a 5-degree bevel, and that's going to put my last finished edge on it.
Are you, is the bit got the bevel, or are you adjusting your router?
Adjusting the router base, yes.
For the degree.
Just a straight cut bottom bearing,
Right.
1/4 inch.
Flush cut.
Yep, flush cut. Yes, sir.
And then you just do that just barely around the very top of the
Very top of it.
very top of it.
Yep. If you're putting these in solid surface, then there's a whole nother situation there and another set of bits. But is there anybody in here that's doing solid surface? Or, no? Okay. So, and this all comes off when it's ready here in a few minutes with the old belt sander, some 40 grit on it. What's that? Bosch? Yeah.
It was not too long to eat.
What is it? The waiting for the glue to dry, or watching the grass grow situation.
Watching the grass grow.
Yeah. Once we have the cutout. So this was our cutout, and once we get this sanded off and ready to glue, we're going to lay this over here, which is going to cover up all of our sink. We're going to spray this top. We're going to take this over to the laminate, lay it on there where we've marked it, spray it, and then come back over and marry the 2 up. Once that's done, we're going to actually then, it talks about using a large sheet of substrate to lay over it. You're going to roll it first delicately around the opening, of course. We're going to lay that large sheet on top of it and throw a bucket on it, let it set up the rest of the time. That's going to probably take, well, today it's took about 20 to 30 minutes. So
When you put your sealer in there, then before you
right before you lay it down, we're going to spray this one, go over spray that.
so you want to keep that edge clean of all other
Anything else
except the sealer.
Yep, the sealer. And this edge is, I would say, what, 3/4 to an inch wide. I think the book says back from the open edge about 1/8 of an inch, lay about 1/4 to 3/8 inch bead, about the size of a pencil. And like I say, no zigzags, no double seam, no double beads, no, stay away from all that. That pressure and that compression on that will drive that both ways. That will seal up this, and it'll actually come back all the way to the line of the glue line.
So you don't route that until it's really dry for 30 minutes.
You do not route that until it's 30 minutes. Now, the one we did there earlier, it was a little gummy underneath. And a lot of times, too, this all sealed up keeps it from drying very fast. So if you can get in and maybe do your rough cut in about 15 minutes, that'll get a little air to it and help it flash off. But yeah, the final cut, you definitely want it on there when it's kicked over. Yeah. Yep. I think, Todd, let's mix another batch.
That's where he said, keep that cut out because you're going to need it.
Yep.
That's what he's laying over the top of it and using the pressure and to keep it from, when he's spraying it down, keep it from getting on the rim.
Actually, I went to buying the small ones because usually it takes about a small one by the time you're all said and done. And you can go back on top of this when it's, well, it's not dry to the touch, it's a little tacky, but it's enough there to where we can get back on it. And not showing our faces on here, are they? Good. I have to check with my parole officer on that and see if there's any problems there. Yeah, I hate that. Hate it when that happens. What's that?
One of them jobs when you're in a big hurry, you know.
Yeah, this Bondo stuff's. I know I wouldn't be a very good body man. You'll see some details in the. There's a lot of things in the instructions that we don't necessarily follow through with, like taping off the inside of the sink and doing a bunch of crazy things like that. You know, that's probably not a bad idea sometimes, but you know, it all comes off, it all gets sanded, so it shouldn't be what I would call a necessity. That's the bad part of these demos. There's a lot of this kind of time. Any other things you want to talk about? Tops?
Do another stainless steel.
Do another stainless steel one. I feel good that I got that one done pretty well, actually.
How do you polish the acrylic?
What's that?
How do you polish the acrylic?
With the sanding steps, the 150, 180, 220, Abralon, Scotch-Brite, just like you would a solid surface panel, if you will. What else?
I had a bad situation with that epoxy. I let it set too long, and I was taking a little putty knife and going and chipping it off, and it chipped part of that sink off.
Yep, never do that.
Yeah.
Never ever.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and I've seen it happen. I've also done it, and it hasn't happened, but it never happens at the right time. Yeah, that's why they tell you never to use a putty knife to take off like you're, on a solid surface top when you're working on it upside down. You get all these hang downs, these little stalactites hanging down. So that's a no-no.
If you have a drip stuck on there, you just need to sand it out.
Sand it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
That stuff gets pretty damn hard.
It gets extremely hard. It's like a weld.
I know,
I mean,
it
in
gets
reality.
harder than anything.
We've broke panels before, and if there's no parts, pieces missing out of it, you can literally put a seam kit back in it and stuff it back together, and no one will ever know where it was. So it'll hide a lot, but it can also have some serious issues. And the colder it is, the worse it is too for that situation. So, the other situations that we can talk about, probably kind of walk through the book here a little bit.
Let me grab those and give them out.
Okay. Yeah, you can hand those out.
Can you spray your laminate yet?
Huh?
Did you spray one of your laminate already?
No. I want to spray that. I would say that there's probably going to be one more little skim coat on this, possibly. It's looking pretty good. I don't see any real voids. It hasn't. We had it blocked up pretty well underneath. That round sink over there. We just took little 2-inch blocks and worked it around the edge. The lippage that's to protrude out underneath here should be about 1/2 inch, enough to get that shelf to set on it. I prefer to glue and shoot it, or glue it and screw it, just to give it all the support it can. I would say in most cases guys are just shooting it or screwing it, because the Bondo, like I said, you got a 3/4 inch of Bondo in there, that it's not going to go anywhere. Do many of you do the post form tops, or do you guys see any situation with that? They're very doable. It's just there's a whole lot more to them. You've got to make a template for the sink so that when you turn that panel over, you're going to route out that 3/4 inch deep and inch wide, or 2 inches wide, and that's to the top of the bottom, if you will, without going through it. And then you're going to soak that with solvent to get all of that backer and glue off of the back side of it. They're just a bunch of gyrations there, and let's face it, those panels, I mean, these sometimes have some irregularities in them, but I think the stuff they use for that is probably the bottom of the pile in most cases, because there's a lot of undulation and irregularity in it, and if the surface you're laying it on isn't perfectly smooth and flat, when you set your sink in there with the weight on it, you can have some issues and get some telegraphing that you don't always like. But the choice here is usually for a homeowner that has that wants the benefit of it, but yet doesn't necessarily want to spend the money on the granite or the solid surface. So I believe in round numbers, these are coming in about 30% less than those other types of tops. So, I hate to use the term, it is what it is, but that is the situation. It's a less expensive version of a high-end situation. So, unfortunately the Chevy doesn't quite perform like the Ferrari some days, and that's what it is. So
even those that are using granite in the kitchen and the master bathroom, they're still doing laundry room tops. They're still doing basement bathrooms, powder rooms, things like that. So there's going to be opportunity there.
Oh yeah.
I have access to a supplier of industrial grade particle board meant for laminate tops. It's 30 inches deep by 145 inches long. It's actually cheaper than buying the 4x8 sheets at the lumber yard, because you don't have the waste factor. Once you trim it off for your 25, 26 inch step, or whatever you're making it, you've got your blocking for underneath it. It's great. So very limited waste factor, much fewer seams, and it's stocked here in town. So I can get it for you if you want to look into it. Let me know.
Now, is that him?
Available any wider though?
No, that's the widest. They do make one other, but it's narrower, for more like for vanity top stuff.
We're going to be doing a top that's like 32 inches. Trying to figure out where to find that.
In that case, you'll have to put a splice in it. But like, for instance, Ken's getting ready to do one, and he was going to be forced to throw a seam in his decking material in the sink. But in this case, it'll eliminate that challenge. So
And now, is that particle or an MDF? Or
It is
HDF?
particle.
Particle? That's,
Heavy duty.
High density.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And obviously comes in at a better price than high density fiber too.
It does,
Yeah.
absolutely. And like I said, it's quite a bit more economical simply
yeah.
because you don't have the waste factor.
And we get that stuff for about 3/4 for about 20 bucks a sheet versus about 50 for plywood.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What about, is
145
it okay to use
inches.
MDF in an undermount?
Yeah. Yeah. Just a little more money, and
Uh-huh.
and that's tends to be the issue to keep the costs down on these. You know, if we've mentioned it, but we just had no real issues. I mean, I've been spraying countertops since I was 12, 14 years old, and when they came out with undermount sinks, it on a fiber core, it's like, you know, it's ludicrous. You know, that's going to be an issue. Our numbers this year over last year finished up 60% higher with the Koran product line. We also have the Wilson Art brand, which is a good brand, but it doesn't have the benefits and the features that this does, especially in the stainless version. That comes bonded with that rim on it. The other thing too is, unfortunately, and I forgot what country that stainless was. It's Japan, because we're having some trade issues with them. So there will be no more stainless steel sinks from Koran coming in from there. They've aligned themselves with another one of our better allies, or an ally, that unfortunately, along with the price of steel, are going to go up. But it's going to be at least from a country that gets what we get along with, and a better quality sink. So
Yeah, they look good. We were kind of skeptical when they first came out, but I think we've probably done one of the first ones for years. And they look so much nicer.
yeah. These sleeves are of benefit if you've got fixtures mounted off of the sink area. I know those don't always mount in the apron, but whole silicone, stuff it in. You know, are you using those on all of them? I would assume everybody does, but I never guess that anymore. So unless you got water issues coming up from above, then you're going to need a new sink then anyway. Like I say,
To go in and replace one, I know I saw in the book one time there are options to, if something goes wrong with your sink, you can come in and replace some of them, or is it just you would have to go back with a surface mount sink?
you'd have to go back to the surface mount.
But
Now-
if it's under a solid surface,
Now,
you
solid surface, yeah, there's some ways to cut those out in place, but it's a pretty tedious operation, and if you really don't have the right tools to do it, it can be a crapshoot at best if it's going to be successful. You know, if you can get it up and out of there, then it gets very successful. But in reality, if it was mounted appropriately, it would come out. But then, you know, what else has to come with it, and what wall issues are
Well, if it's a
created.
bigger sink though, you could make it work, right?
What's that?
If it's a bigger sink that you're putting in, then what's original?
No, you can do the same size original on a solid surface. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Is it time?
On the last one.
Do something around here.
Just go up and down.
That. And that up there. Most of this is pretty good. We're about there. they're done on it. But I had a little bit of a issue up here on this corner as we put it in there, and it wanted to pop up. I don't know why I did it, but it did. But it's like everything else, you know, you just got to deal with it. But I'm thinking, as far as the connection from the actual bowl to the top, I'm good. I got a little bit of an issue right here that I probably need to touch up. But again, you know, you can check that out with a straight edge, make sure you're where you should be. I know a lot of times I have issues with that front edge, and I'm not sure why that is, whether it's because this is a small piece of particle board and you get a little
Gets cocked a little bit. Yeah.
gets a little cocked there. But you know, my big concern is about where these two junction in. And I think as far as that goes, this is in pretty good shape. You want to bring that big piece around for the laminate for it? Just to kind of show them what we've done.
No, I got it.
One thing you want to make sure and do too in the whole process here is denature alcohol, both the back side of this area that's going to be bonded to this, as well as this, before we bond it up. And that's a pretty busy piece of. So what we did earlier was, again, and for you that work these kind of things before, you understand, we've number one, we've came over here and basically in the very beginning I've determined, you know, where my overage is, and you know, usually that's that much of your finger on those sides, and then underneath we've traced that outline of the top, marked it on the bottom. Very nice piece of HD, isn't it? Gonna look nice with that off-colored sink. So we will end up taking that back and utilizing the cutout, you know, to put on there. We'll get this dusted off and get this sprayed.
Denature alcohol.
Let's get our cardboard under those strips over there. Try to keep as much of it off the floors as we can. And I've taped off these edges so when whoever gets these and puts on either a you know, a laminate edge and or that covers it pretty good, doesn't it? Or whatever, those are taped off, so it shouldn't be have any adhesive issues. Let's wait and do that. So this guy's going to go on here.
When you guys get a chance, this is that one of those upgraded edge profiles that I was talking about. Pass it around. This is a combination of an acrylic, double element, flat back, just glues on with Elmer's or Type Bond. But that's going to be the edge profile for this. You'll notice that the laminate in the center of that matches the countertop that he's going to be putting on. So just a nice 3-dimensional profile to it.
Todd wondered if we was going to run out of glue, and I told him I hope not. Been using this thing for a year, it seems like.
Mike, I know you're using one of these spray systems, and I know, Dick, you use it. How much time do you think that saves you in regards to versus the old roll-on?
This is less than half.
Clean up.
Way more than half, I'd say.
Yeah, because it goes on it goes on a lot thinner, so it does pack over much faster.
Immediately, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it dries up on you, let it sit too long, you just spray it again and you're good.
Tacks it back, reactivates it. Yeah.
You don't get the real strong smell like you do with the contact cement either.
So you're buying it in bulk. It's cheaper in the bulk. It's going to go farther. So the return on the investment to go ahead and buy the equipment it really does pay for itself pretty quickly.
Especially if you got a big job. I mean,
It comes pressurized.
Comes pressurized, you never shut that valve off till it's done. Want pressure in the hose at all time.
shut off right there on your gun. Just
Yep.
through that little deal and shut her off. But you got a bunch of tops to do. You save a lot of money. You pay for it.
If you have to clean it, this end comes off, soak it in some solvent, put it back on, you're ready to go.
As long as you shut it off at the gun and you take
Yep.
the tip off there.
Yeah, but don't shut it off back there, because then this will lose its charge and you'll have some issues there with the cleaning of it or plugging up. I don't know if you've had that out.
What's it cost to get set up with?
I haven't priced one recently, so if you're interested, call me tomorrow. I can look it up in the computer. I'm sure Todd's going to make us a super hot deal on it for the rest of the month of December.
Sorry, I spaced off.
What was that? What was that, Todd?
Honestly, guys, I would do that. I definitely would do that because I think it's a.
I think if you buy 2 bottles, you get 1 free or something like that. 15 to 20.
We're going to step back here and spray this.
How can you do the top one?
It costs me $700 to get it.
Got it.
Actually, like you said, I always turn one off the tank because if you throw it in the truck, it's rattled around.
I would have sprayed
The
it.
gun,
We spray more.
the gun's got a safety valve. You reel it back so it if you actually have one in the back of my truck,
You know what that spray stuff is?
that's right here on there, a little loose, and it leaked out in the back of the truck. This big ass motor, and it's all the pressure out of the tank. It's slow leak, so it's mostly just letting air out. So I had about a half a tank where it didn't have no pressure. Well, I used it until it just wouldn't hook up. Then it wasted the third of the tank. Basically, you just take your hose off the tank, it's off the gun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when you shut it off at the tank,
I don't know what
You still have pressure on the hose. It's like a spray rig. You want to keep,
The old way.
if you drain your spray rig out and clean the hose, you keep pressing in and it's slipping down. Go right back to it.
How much is that gun in the tank? You put that in
For the tank, and then the hose and the gun's about, when I bought it, it was about $250, $275 for the hose. And
I know guys that are
of
doing
course,
it.
my hose is 12 feet long. So it's 12 feet. Yeah, well, especially with the other tank, you want to sort of be able to reach where you want to go.
You can only
Usually,
like
like the
5
hose
or
is
10
thicker,
minutes.
so it's a little heavier, so
The reason I like the gym one is because that
So we're going to denature this, get that cleaned off, keep our little greasy fingers off of it as it sets up, as we move on with it. You want to go wipe that other one, the first couple inches in on the undone part.
where's this wire?
If you've used these, I know there's several different controversial issues of how to leave them, because number one, you're not going to use it all. Ideally, this keeps the best in a cool, refrigerated area, but don't put it in something you're eating out of because it'll stink funky. Usually just leave the tube on it, let it set up, and it'll be ready to go the next time. These also too do have a little notch there that need to poke down in and turn, unlike the one from Wilson Art, because I know I've had them, not got them on there right before. I thought they were, and they shoot off the minute you put the pressure on it. You do want to purge it each time. You know, we all have kids to put through school, and we need to sell more cartridges, so use, spit a bunch of it out on the ground there. We're going to set tight on this till we stick it and get ready to lay that down on there. Let's see if we can get this on there here without embarrassing ourselves tonight. Nobody's ever lost one of these putting on there, have they, huh?
Hey, if that one
Back in the
spot on
day
the
when
back
we
of
used
the
metal Venetian blinds, those were easy to lose back there. I can probably take you to a house or two that still has one under it.
I know of a couple.
That stuff really sucks trying to peel it off if you get busted.
We had a question about the glue in the canister. What's the shelf life? Both on your on the contact cement and also on the epoxy.
The epoxy, if kept refrigerated, is pretty much like a year or more. Although I've also had them sitting on a shelf that have been used out of for 6 to 9 months without any issue. Usually the hardener is the first thing that goes on it, and once that happens, it's pretty well wasted. And usually you know, pay for it on one job and use it on 2 or 3 more, so it usually costs itself out pretty good. But as far as that canister goes, honestly I don't know, but I know that I've had them open for multiple years under pressure, using out of them. So
Just clean the tip as well.
just clean the tip. Yeah, that one's starting to get dirty. I usually clean it every 3rd or 4th time. And Wilson Art has a solvent that I'm telling you, you put it in overnight in a coffee can the next morning, the can's red, and you just blow it out. So it works real well. We're almost there. 6 o'clock. Unless he drops it face down on the dirt back there.
That one spot doesn't stick. It's not my fault.
Go ahead and switch. Where's my notes? Right here.
Show them back that first.
Oh, yeah. There we go. So we got a door open there for it. He's wiped that. We've wiped that. Guess what we forgot to do?
Put the epoxy on it.
I'm glad somebody's watching.
guys thought about it.
I'm glad somebody's watching this.
I'm in a hurry. Let's get this.
Yeah, it'll be all right.
It's past Miller time, isn't it? Yeah.
Put them sticks on there in a hurry.
What happened to the old days? There we go. Okay. So remember, too much is not a good thing here. Well, let's look at about. I know my pencil and yours are probably different sizes, but that's. Whoa! Come back here. Oops.
I shouldn't watch you.
Make a mess and it gets shakes a little bit, and then
Yeah. Super straight.
You got the DTs. And a Miller.
No caffeine.
Yeah, there you go.
So this is your bonding agent and your waterproofing agent for the sink rim. Because the laminate is not going to absorb anything. So there's not a concern there.
Well, plastic laminate is not approved for outdoor use. I can tell you I've got a piece of it on an exterior door that's been on there, pretty close to 20 years. And it's as nice as the day I put it on there. So, it does, it's very durable. It does take outside. Okay, 3rd time or 2nd time's the charm.
now we're ready.
We got right rear, right front, left, right.
I've never done one of these.
Got our gauge set here.
A lot of the laminates before the laminates there.
Looks like a winner to me.
You go either way. If you go with brown, black line.
That's what they were using on the gauging on the fingers.
She's lost one of those.
Count all your down.
Nobody will ever see that thing.
One. I forgot to count them.
It'll be a big bump. Oh.
So they just use their fingers to get it up and make sure the whole 2 holes lined up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
That was kind of fly.
What's not flying?
That's the way you use your fingers to line up your drawing and your other hole there.
First knuckle.
Yeah.
So this, you know, again, kind of a delicate area there on that edge, but since we're using Wilson art instead of Formica, it's probably a little tougher.
Little plugs for Wilson right there.
I hear that doesn't work right with the microgram with Korean. Don't take that for gospel, but.
Yeah, you different kind of roller.
Oh, you just don't smack it and walk down the street? Or wait, it's a block of wood, right? Yeah. Because we know you're all using these, which applies the appropriate hammer, the rubber mount. Well, there used to be a day when we'd go around to the Jorgensens, right, and clamp down all the edges. Yeah, that don't happen anymore. I'm pretty sure. Okay, so we want the big bedboard on here, and this is basically just designed to keep a lot of pressure on that area. And this will do that too.
Or you can put a pallet tile up there.
Put a pallet tile on it, yeah.
Call a lunch, you guys can sit on it during lunch.
So, okay, it's 6:15. We're gonna let that set for about 15 minutes. We'll probably trim off this excess. What part of anything that we've, yes, sir.
That epoxy, that gets pretty hot, doesn't it?
In a big bunch, yeah, but not like this, no.
I just wondered if it made the Formica warm or do anything.
No,
You had any issues
absolutely
with that?
not. No, the only time I've had any, I've never had that with this. Now some epoxies I have, but usually that's why they say get it out of the bucket right away, so that you keep that mass from heating up. But yeah, I've seen that smoke before on some epoxies.
If you use too much of a bead, then you might see some telegraph through there, but that's because
Yeah.
there's too much underneath there. Not
Get a little roly-poly. And you know, to convince yourself of that, if you get into this, try a little, get a area and put a little bit of it down, put that bead down, and lay a piece of laminate on and put some pressure on it. It's amazing how well it does move, and the bond strength is as equal to or better than a weld, if you would. Some other questions, issues?
That's gonna be just gonna take a trial and take that epoxy and just spread it out where it's only really thin versus as thick as you put.
Oh, because they tell me not to.
They tell you not to.
Yeah.
They don't want it thinner.
No, they want that to seek its own level, if you will. Yeah, they want it to go both. They want it to go both ways, because as you'll see in a minute when we open that up, you've got squeeze out over the edge, which is going to seal it, and then until you try it, you'll just have to believe me that it goes all the way back to the line, to the bond line.
Your biggest challenge with trying to trowel it on like that is getting void pockets and not getting a good seal.
And it gets real tacky. I've done that with bond and solid surface panels together. Shot a whole tube of that out and then tried to trowel it. Yeah. I mean, I know this is a smaller area, but it's the same kind of principle. If you had like a 32nd notch trowel or a laminate trowel, like, I mean, we used to trowel, you know, painted or brushable all the time, and it works pretty good. But this is it's a lot thicker, and it's actually starting to kick the minute it mixes. So in a perfect world, in temperature and humidity, it'll kick off in 15 minutes. So you don't have a lot of time to dilly-dally with
Smoke break.
Smoke break. There you go. Smoke break. Or more questions, or we got any tile layers in here? No? A few of them? Well, so here's the Todd mentioned the latest and the greatest. Crossville has a new product called Laminum. Laminum comes in 1 meter by 3 meter sheets, And for us in the United States, that means it's 39 3/8 inches wide and 118 inches long. It's for walls. It'll eventually come to floors, and it's 3 meters. It's 1/8 of an inch thick with a fiberglass backing on it. Starting out commercially, working into the residential market next year. Goes over existing ceramic floors. Countertops, backsplashes, 54 colors. Cut it with, well, you actually cut it like glass. There is actually a 120-inch rail cutter. There's all, and then their residential. The commercial size is as it says, mostly commercial, but that'll be available to you residentially, which would work nicely for backsplashes. But also, it's going to come in a 1 meter by 1 meter, 39 3/8 square. And again, you can do different things with it too. So
Wet areas or?
wet? Oh, you bet. Showers. Showers. You know, like I said, it's something that next year we'll be into the Wichita market with it, looking for people that want to get involved with it.
Do you have a piece?
Huh?
Do you have a piece?
Do I have? I don't have a piece with me. We've already had a couple of commercial trainings. We got a job going over in Lawrence next month. It's going to be it'll be interesting. There's a lot of it's going to come into the millwork arena, which will be bonded with mastic then, because it's going to go on cabinet faces and doors. There's also a 7 mil. That's the 3 mil. There is the 5 mil is going to go on the floor, which pushes right at a 1/4 inch. Then there's a 7 mil, which is finished on both sides, and with a fiberglass core, which is actually for like panels, restroom stall panels, actually doors, like a glass door, only a solid door that's yay thick. There's hardware already in the glass world that work on that. So it's going to be pretty interesting. We'll have some stuff over at the branch and hit the different places. The downside to all this is probably about a $3,000 investment in toolage. But
How do you do outside corners?
outside corners would be, up to this point, would be Schluter, or a outside type corner like that, or maybe a, you know, that could be blended with a solid surface or a wood. There is believe it or not, there's a profiling bit available, or soon to be available, for bullnosing it. So I don't know how much of a bullnose you can put on an 1/8 inch piece of a tile, but you know, the thicker the 1/4 inch and the 7 mil will be a little more doable. But it's going to be pretty interesting. It's been in Europe for about 7 or 8 years, and each of the major manufacturing people, except I don't think American Olean has one yet, but Marazzi in Crossville in Florida, and a couple of the different ones. So Dow has one. Dow's had one on the market. They've had their share of failures already with it, but what did we expect? So
The
We just
larger
had a
sheet.
pretty good question a minute ago.
Yeah.
The question was, what do we charge to put one of these in? What are you seeing as a market average, nation average, however you want to?
This stuff?
Yeah, because we were talking about, you know, do a quick assessment of the time. Your time, the additional time versus building a laminate top and putting a self-rooming sink in there, the only additional items you're doing is the Bondo, the sanding, and waiting for the epoxy and the Bondo to dry. So that's really about the only extra things you're doing here. So flash over on the Bondo was 15 minutes maybe, depending on how many coats you got to put on there.
Mm-hmm.
You got maybe a half hour extra there. The epoxy's another 15 minutes.
Get
So,
the routing and stuff too.
yes, that's going to slow you
Right,
down a little
yeah.
bit there, but rough assessment, once you get the hang of one of these, extra hour and a half in building the top, maybe 2
Yeah.
hours outside. So
I can do 3 of them. I can do 3 of them from start to finish.
$20 extra ought to cover it.
now I've had this question come up several times.
Yeah.
The last few guys I think charged for one of the kitchen sinks charged somewhere in the neighborhood of $350, and client never batted an eye at that.
Yeah.
So I think that that's going to be assessed at the point of the client that you're dealing with, you know, and what type of a top you're dealing with. You know, if it's a vanity sink versus a, you know, 60-40 bowl on a stainless steel where you got a little extra time in the filing and the routering there. But
I would say your extra time, your additional time would be somewhere in the hour to hour and a half range.
yeah, once you get
In
comfortable with
reality,
it.
You gotta drill your faucets too.
yes, sir.
I mean, compared to where that rim comes out right there, what's the setback for that faucet? How wide was that rim? Faucet got to be back behind that, right?
That ledge is 1.5 inches. Actually, an inch because a half of it's out underneath it. So
And
it's
what's your shelf? Is that gonna interfere when you drill for your faucet?
nope, as long as it's back more than an inch,
Okay.
and that shouldn't be a big deal, I don't think.
You've been nailing and gluing your shelf?
I've been nailing and gluing it, but I'm kind of anal like that. Although when we were doing them recently, we did them in all the branches. We did 3 tops in 3.5 hours, and that was cutting the holes, dropping them in start to finish, and you know. But we had all 3 of them set up, and we were just kind of leapfrogging from one to the other and back and forth. But yeah, then you know, get a hole saw for it.
Right, I was just wondering about that shelf, you know.
Yeah, so the shelves.
Your plumber will be sniveling like hell when he has to try to hook up his faucet underneath there and it's uneven like that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
last time I checked, he gets paid pretty good for that. You know, I'm having problems with that.
Your banding that you put on to hold the sink, if you make that too wide and then you drill your hole for your faucet, your nut's not going to go on level unless you shim both sides.
Correct. So,
That's another thing.
I mean, yeah, it's something to think about. I mean, there's a curve here. There's a kind of a, you know, learning curve, and
I believe it said in the instructions that you can, your blocking doesn't have to be continuous all the way around.
no, it does
It has
not.
to be enough to help support it. The Bondo's doing most of the work. The blocking is temporary for the
Right.
most part.
Right. Yep. No, that's 100% right. So, it's another alternative. It's another area to go to. You know, it's just like with a lot of these things that are coming out. It's another option. You know, we get a little stagnant sometimes on doing the same old thing over and over, and it's always nice to have something different for a change to get into. What do you think?
Yeah, and also for whatever it's worth, the clients that I've sold these to, the feedback has been extremely happy, positive. They've all been thrilled with it.
Buzz this edge off
Pretty much the same
before
with
we
the
break it
contract
off.
that we've done too. The feedback off of that has been equally as positive.
The thicker that top is, why would you even have to block the bottom of that?
It's a temporary support until the Bondo gets in there and sets up.
Right, and to hold it at.
Because the cutout,
The finished cutout, the original cutout, isn't it just countersunk in that top?
no, the
No,
sink passes
all the way through.
It's an
All the way
8
through.
bigger than the size of the sink.
Now, if you had a substrate that was thick enough, you know, you could probably.
But you could actually route down into if the top was that thick.
If the
Yeah.
top was
Not
thick
even
enough.
done,
Yeah.
the shim on the bottom.
Yep.
Block.
Yep.
Yeah, for instance, if you were doing double layer 3/4, yeah.
the way I did every time. Back in the file, huh?
That's what I do. Bang it holes in my file.
Waiting for it to do something silly, aren't we? My luck.
You want to get rid of it.
Huh? Oh, yeah. I'll do that.
Oh yeah. For everything.
Ah, get under here.
Make sure you draw your pattern a little big.
Got it. Okay, let's see this time where we're gonna go. Still a little sticky, but that's all right. So we're still sticky. So now it's probably time for smoke break. No, that'll I think it'll start to flash off. But I don't know, can you see from back there? Do you see any irregularity? You know, a lot of times when you're about that eye level,
Looks pretty good.
maybe a little bit on the back side.
Like I said.
No doubt, rods anyway.
Cigarette butts or something, or cigarette ash. Beer can lid.
On your router bit bearing there, is it a nylon bearing or do you just use a regular?
Nylon oversized. So you don't want a flush cut. That's too dangerous.
I was wondering,
Isn't it?
looked like your 10 degree was going the wrong way on that. Well, unless your bearing was oversized.
Bearing's oversized.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But from here, this was just the rough cut, basically.
Yeah.
I could have probably used a straight cut instead of the 10 on that. But, you know, and that's where there's some variables. Sometimes that's going to be a situation where you can take it all the way down with that 10. You can just move it down a little more. And have you guys?
We've been using flush cut, but we ain't had no problem.
Yeah. You know, it's like a lot of these things. You know, there's guidelines, there's suggested ways to do it, but I know we all tend to gravitate towards something that we're more comfortable with. It's just like when we were doing that over there. You know, I got to a point where I just didn't feel comfortable using power no more, and especially trying to, you know, screwing this one up here, that'd always be a bad thing. So
They make a no file bearing or blade too that's got a little, probably like a 5 degree on it, and then it's got the little round over on it.
And also, you know, a lot of these guys use what these call them a bullet bit.
Yeah, that's what we use.
You know, and I've tried them a couple of times and I've had no success with them. So I don't know whether I'm either.
Bearing on it
I love them.
I mean, I think it's a good idea, but like I said, I've got 2 or 3 sinks that we did on demos that I'm replacing the edges on them.
Well, we always tape the edges, you know, because and then give it a little bit of WD-40 because if you hold it too long in one spot and it gets hot, then it will mar the product. But as long as you keep up, you know, and don't let it, you know, do that, then you're okay. But,
or some guys use wax on them or different things.
I've even had the bearings mar the product if it gets hot. You know what I mean? So I mean,
right.
Glue buildup on it.
Yeah. But on the tape, doesn't that pull on you too, or doesn't that get into the tape? As long as you got it
Well, if you
loose.
got it adjusted right, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But if you got down too far or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you get it adjusted,
I'll
just
play with
about
them
right,
again because, like I
then
say,
it doesn't really mess with the tape.
I've had bearing issues
Because
too
usually
before.
we set the tape a little bit. We set the tape a little bit down below. You know, not flush, a little bit down. You know, so that it doesn't really catch. You know, the cutting surface of it.
Cutting surface. Okay. All right. Well, we kind of got to wait for this guy to do its thing here. So, any other questions or situations?
Can we look at it?
Yeah, yeah. Come on and look at it. You bet. Yeah. Feel it, touch it.
We've been doing pretty much, you know.
You know, take a look at the stainless one over there if you haven't seen it yet. Yeah, that's the two-part epoxy.
That's your squeeze out you're looking for, and that's what, so that you know you got your watertight bond in there.
And we can
This would be all right to drill this back here.
Well, and that's the front.
There's the front,
That's
yeah.
the front,
Yeah,
this is the back.
so yeah, because we made them oversized, so if you guys got to cut them down with or
Scribe into the wall
scribe
for
into
this
the
one.
wall, yeah. But you know, there's what basically they recommend to cut it with, to put the finished edge on it.
5 degrees, is that the bullet? Or has that got a ball bearing on it?
It's got a ball bearing on it. It's got a bearing on it, yeah. But you know, again, whatever you know you guys come up with, there's.
You put a little salve on that bearing, grease it up a little bit. Tight. Well, I don't know.
And that's going to be your finished cut bearing or bit right there, huh?
That's that 5-degree bevel he talked about earlier.
Right. But you've also got.
You got those in stock there?
Well, it's a straight bit. It's a straight bit.
Order enough of them, I will.
Yeah. Not all these have this this type of base on them.
You are correct.
But you can get a 10-degree or a bit that will give you the same bevel.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I've got one back there that I've used on before.
That way you wouldn't have to worry about rotating the router.
It's kind of like that no file bit.
Right.
That we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, the nice thing about these things, if you get into them a little bit, you can sand it out.
Exactly. And in most cases, an acrylic sink, unless it's just straight sides, you're going to get in it. Especially a kitchen sink, you're going to get in it a little bit, and that's normal, and that's just like a solid surface sink.
Right.
Only here you've got an 1/8 of an inch acrylic, with solid surface you got half. So.
And if you ever do one of the Wilson Art versions that Coran makes, they have a very specific, unique bevel to them, and you got to buy a different set of bits for that. And
and
they're awfully proud of those.
Yep. So
I'm much more partial to the Coran because it gives you more of that straight drop, that solid surface undermount look. I think they look better personally. Plus, they're more economical than the Wilson Arts. You don't have the Wilson Art name and price tag on it.
Haven't heard of it yet.
I haven't heard of it. The 64 volt
doesn't show that on that. So he's done that.
No.
He's going to do it.
Oh,
yeah, we're going to use this now. Soon as this sets up enough that I can route on it, because the problem is when you get that disc in there and you got an issue, then you got a problem.
Now, there's a timing factor here. You got to have this where it's solid, but you don't let it go too long.
No, it can go all the way because you want it. I want it hard.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you walk away, go have lunch, an
Absolutely
hour and a
not.
half. It's not a
Absolutely
problem.
not. Next day.
Yep. Just don't scrape the excess off of the putty knife.
Yeah, because right now, because what can happen is if you scrape this off right now with the putty knife, it can actually pull out of what's back in there and have what they call a starved seam or a void. So, and again, something pretty sharp usually works better than
What, gouging it?
Now, you know, you hear a lot of horror stories, and until you get caught in one, then and you know, you might do it a couple times and it not bite you, but that day that you don't want to spend more time on it is the day that it.
That's not an oversized bearing.
No, sir. It's flush. Yep. I honestly like that no file bit with the angle on it.
Seems like most of them you buy with the flush trims, the bearing just a little bit big. Kind of like that. End up having a file or something.
Yeah. Well,
what's the no file bit?
It just basically has a bevel on it. I mean, it's like a.
So is it like a 5 degree or what? Or is it?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. You know, it actually just has a little bit of it just actually has a wing. The wing on it actually has a bevel on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I got it back there in the box. I just take it out.
And then on the back page of that,
Huh?
what's the back page of your brochure?
Well, okay, yeah, it's similar to this. Only these are 1/2 inch
Yes.
big bearings, but it's kind of almost something like that.
Okay.
And those are steel bearings too. So that, you know, while I worry about this sometimes leaving a mark, but in reality, you can sand that off or you can buff that out too.
Yeah.
They ran fan out. They got rid of fan.
But you definitely don't want to use a bearingless bit.
No.
Where are you finding your 1/4 inch?
I got, well,
either 3/8
ISC has them. We have them down over at ISC. And those are, who is it that we have? Amana. It's an Amana bit. So that's going to basically set in there like so.
No, I know.
And put that bevel on there. And these are hard to find. I know that I actually called.
It really doesn't make any difference if you use a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch flush trim.
No, I don't see it varying.
You're still flush.
Yeah.
Yes. Done that a few times.
I've seen that more than once.
Yeah.
Now, is the epoxy hard enough that the heat from the bit doesn't make it burn up the bit?
When it's hard, yes. When it's soft like this.
When it gets hard?
When it gets hard, it will be. So and then I'm going to sand that real little edge there and get rid of that because it's just a freckle, isn't it? Like a blonde hair there. Yeah. And you know, well, as soon as and basically once that sets up, and it's getting there, it's in the gummy, and those seam kits tend to go. Ideally, you should not be able to put your finger in it and leave a mark. And it's one of those things where you watch it and it won't. You turn around and it kicks, and it's right away. So
yeah, because it's like you said, when it decides to go, it goes.
It goes. There's no in between. But you know, too, you're going to want to put you're going to put a little, take that burr off of there too.
Yeah,
That'll peel.
And you just sand it off, though. You don't try to file it.
Yeah, use just enough. And we'll work that over too. That'll. It's not there yet. It's damn close.
Pretty small camera.
But as if you've seen it on YouTube, like I said, you can take a 2x4 and whale on that. Put dents in the 2x4. You can get in there and stand in it. It isn't going to go anywhere. We can take a look at the back side.
Yep.
And like he was saying, these are not critical that they be all the way. I just easier that way and put my damn pieces on it.
We go ahead and glue them in, tack them just like you did.
Strip it.
That's really
Okay, so your formica is actually set at 3/4 of an inch deep then, right? That piece of formica spacer you've got.
Oh, that's just setting in.
It's just laid. It's between the bottom of the lip and this.
So
Right.
it's,
Space.
so it's 3/4 of an inch down there.
Correct. Yes, sir. I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah. But before I thought he'd said a ½ inch, and I was
Oh,
thinking,
half inch wide.
Oh,
Wide.
okay.
The width of it is.
That's what
usually-
threw me off, because I'm thinking the hard surface is 3/4 of an inch, and it looked to me like it was on the bottom of it.
So this top here, that lip is 3/4 inches thick, so that's what you use the formica to get it up a little.
Get it up a little
It's not
bit.
made an extra 30-second.
Right.
Okay.
And that's where if you do one of these on an undermount, a lot of times there may be enough variation in that substrate that you actually have to go in and take the bottom of this off so that you can get a ledge put in there for it to lay on.
Is there a reason why you can't just run a bead of like subfloor adhesive in there and then set the sink down in it? Instead of using your shim, just use a subfloor adhesive for your shim?
You could, or you could take a drywall screw and run it up through there to tweak it.
Yeah.
And then when you're done, back it out.
Yeah.
And get rid of it.
See, what I usually do with ours is I use the corners only and angle and then cut them at a bevel. That way you don't have this getting in the way of your front or your faucet.
Or your faucet,
you know.
Sure.
That way just kind of candy corners each, one like that.
So you don't really put any out in the field?
Right, no.
You've not had any issues?
No.
Cool.
And the 60/40 bowl with the way that drops off like that, you got to set those gaps in there anyway, regardless.
Because like you say, once the bondo sets up, it's not going anywhere anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And basically that's just to hold it in place, while you're bondoing it and get the right level and all that stuff.
Well, I think especially in this part of the business, a lot of it is, like I said, guidelines designed to get you moving, and then you modify it
To
what works for
your own needs better.
to your shop. Yeah, exactly. Because let's face it, there's no warranty on any of it, really. I mean, other than
because we're the ones out in the field doing it, so we know what kind of problems we're going to cross.
right. Yeah. So you
can always put it in the book, but it doesn't always go by the book.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, and I'm all about bending the rules. I mean, that's that's the best. Because you got to, because the book world isn't there.
No.
Yeah, the books are all factory settings.
Yeah.
Not real
None
life.
of us work in factory settings.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's variables, and and I think they understand that. And in most cases, those things are built over engineered, or the design of it is that, okay, we know it isn't going to be a perfect world. We got to give them something to shoot for.
Right.
And in reality, we want to get as close as we can to it.
I know sometimes you think if these engineers had to work on some of the stuff they engineered, they'd engineer it different.
Working with the architects and the engineers out there, I've had a few in the family. There's a debate there. Yeah, there you can feel it a little bit. I mean, it's there.
Yeah, but with that
Let's see now.
that newer formica with a little texture, it's gone unless you get the sunlight just right and sort of really nitpick it.
Well, and I think the idea too is if you're going to sell these, they need to be. There should be a display. There should be an expectation level of what the customer is going to get, because they got to understand it's not a perfect world. They may think it is, and they may want to live in it, but the reality of it is there's variables to all these installed products. All right, we'll buzz the rest of that off. I think it's set up over there now.
That's good.
Yeah, it's
Use a 5-degree bevel on the
well,
rest, or no?
This was, well, like I say, that's kind of a preference thing. This is what the book talks about.
I see.
It's a
You're
straight
just using
cut
a tilt base.
and tilt base.
I see.
We got some goobers going on here that we got to do a little cleanup on. Yeah. Well, just require a little bit of cleanup time.
Like all the corners did, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, this is one of the things where, okay, they recommend putting tape on that. And there's a time where it would have saved some time by taping it. So what this would have been on there, we could have came in and pulled the tape off and got rid of it. But in reality, a lot of times that is not necessary.
You're doing filing.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing filing, it looks like. Any other questions while we're, I mean, I don't mean to keep you off, but you got some questions about where we're at here, where we're going with this? Anybody? Not much? Well, I'm just going to be doing some filing here for a while, it looks like. So, I'm going to file that out. I'm going to probably put this guy on here, work him over if I can. Nope, won't work. Not enough. Not enough depth.
Put that on your finger and
Yeah. I'd like to see if I could
What are you ready?
Yeah, when you actually finally get this edge off of there, we're,
And that ceiling's gonna keep that?
uh-huh. Yes, sir. That will not leak there. What's that?
Oh, we done several of them already.
Oh, you have?
We did probably the first one for these guys.
That one I really, really like. I do too. Yeah, I know that's what I want.
But the stainless is
stainless
basically
steel
just like
is not,
this.
so you can't see
Yeah,
it.
that's the hell of a nice job on that.
And what's in? Oh, the stainless? Yeah, it turned out real good. I got bitted on that.
That looked really, really sharp with that laminate, didn't it?
Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
combination.
Oh yeah.
Looks really good.
That's what I'm saying. You know, those are popular animal these days, I'm telling you.
There's a little.
Yeah, I see that. I'm gonna
Shoot a little in there and.
Yeah, here pretty quick. We're gonna do a secondary joint for the bar top, just as is.
Okay.
Couple more minutes, 'cause we had- What do you got estimated time left?
Oh, I'll probably be on this 10 or 15 minutes at least.
Okay.
So if you want to
What
kind
I'll do is I'll
of
make
wrap it
sure
up.
everybody's signed up and then
Right.
do the drawing while
Yeah.
we're waiting.
Cool.
Okay.
Signed up where we signed
Real
up.
quick, everybody, did everybody put their name in the bowl over here for the drawings? Everybody got signed up? One. Everybody got signed up for one?
You don't have to seal it with nothing?
No, not at all.
Good to go?
Good to go. Yep. If you have to get very aggressive with it, just step it back down to like 220.
What do you got? What's that fat?
That's a 150. And I actually need to have a hard back on it. I'm going to probably step over here and work it over with this bad boy a little bit, because I'm not able really to bring a small DA, because I've got a 2-inch or 2.5-inch random orbital.
Where did you get the small random orbital? ISC?
What's that?
Where did you get the small random orbital?
I actually ordered it from
Who makes it?
Dynabraid.
Dynabraid.
Dynabraid makes it. Yeah. That's really nice for small bowls and things.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But the issue with corners in sinks is just
You gotta
inherent.
do it by hand.
It is what it is. Because if I go in here to get that
Yeah, you gotta do it by
with a bit, then I'm gonna be in trouble out here. So, you know, unfortunately, there's not a bit that cures it all.
Pretty nice looking, man.
Bob done? Bob done. Okay.
I don't want to be run out of Dodge when I pull the wrong name, you know?
The first drawing, again, is for the bathroom package. This is a vanity cabinet that was donated by Gallery Expressions. The top here that we've got done, again, has been all donated by ISC. About 50 square foot of floor tile. Backsplash is already picked out with the trim for it. It's there. It's got some grout, some caulking. It's got a heated floor system that goes with this. So all of that is in the first drawing. We're going to do a secondary drawing for the bar top as it sits. Okay?
Jacob Leto. Really? Jacob Leto. You are the winner, man. He doesn't have a bathroom. You were really checking that out over there too.
You look good in that outhouse.
You can build yourself a portable bar.
It's a SciArc.
You're loading that shit by yourself. Thanks.
bar top.
Yeah.
Marvin Nieces.
Marvin laughed. He laughed.
He laughed.
Yeah, he didn't.
Gotta be present.
Is it present?
Well, it was showed up to the clinic. He spent enough time here. I mean,
It's his top.
yeah.
Okay, so this is the first one was the bathroom.
Oh, by the way, you got to take that with you tonight.
Has he really?
I've got it palletized. We'll shrink wrap it. If you got, if you can, yes. But if not,
No,
please.
not other than, no, because
It ain't gonna be tonight.
you gotta get this. Well, this one might go as is too.
Hey, guys, really quick, again, January's, I'm going to have a very similar giveaway package. Again, we've gotten great buy-in and great support from the suppliers on that. There's going to be a Schluter shower system, tile, heated floor system, granite top for a custom-made vanity. So, I mean, it's going to be a very similar package in January.
Like I said, we got
Schluter shower system, is that including tile for the shower?
I mean,
Yes, I've got tile donated also.
A couple places where I hit it.
I just wondering on that.
I use that, and tile, and
The Schluter package, no tiles?
No, I've got commitment on the tile. Yeah.
because you want to kind
Yeah,
of.
Josh at Dallas jumped on board this time for that. So he's already, I'm going to be picking it out again after and I talked about the color on the vanity. Then I'm going to go pick the granite. Once I've got that picked, I can pick all the tile and get it all designed and pulled together.
I actually hit it with that stuff, just to kind of clean it up and straighten it out.
In the acrylic, there's two. There's white and almond.
I think this is a good edge here.
Todd, Brent, is there any indication that they're going to be coming out with any more colors in the acrylic anytime soon?
No.
Okay, there's still the white and almond, white and bisque.
And the black.
Do we have the black?
Yes. There. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Apparently, there's at
we've
least
got
one
those out
extra
there.
color.
And well, there's 4 colors in the quartz sinks as well.
Okay, are the quartz going to work with the laminate as the same?
Yep.
Okay.
The quartz does work with the laminate.
Yes.
And there's actually brochures over there show you all the colors and the sizes.
Same
for
epoxy,
quartz.
same.
Same everything.
3 different colored epoxies depending on which one you're using.
So you got the stainless, the acrylic, the black, and then the quartz.
And the black is in the quartz?
Yes.
Or is it, okay.
Black quartz.
Because last I'd heard, they weren't able to figure out the colors yet on the acrylics, that they've had some trouble with other colors other than the white and the bisque on this.
Well, the black definitely in the quartz. I'd have to check the black on the acrylic. You might be right about that.
Because I think in the acrylic it shows just white and bisque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are actually, isn't this from Grant?
Yes.
I think it was,
Those,
yeah.
all of like the buff wheels and that drip this and that one air drill and the sanding piece.
A little familiar with it.
Yeah.
But she immediately was interested because she saw all the value of the commercial applications as architecture when she picks everything.
Yep.
She's really pretty.
Well, and it's one of those things too, like, once I got aggressive with it, it came right out. But it's that mindset of just how fast, how hard do you want to go with it.
At some point,
And I know,
if she doesn't,
because we did a whole series of these in all of our
and if she
branches.
does,
And, and then we had some people from the audience come up and do it. There's two.
I think
Just because, you just don't get comfortable with it.
and I'm going to try to get her in for the next time. She couldn't make this.
Yeah, that's so. When you described it to me, what I was trying to figure out,
You don't want to hit that bowl.
I was trying to figure out how you're going to hide that 3/4. When you told me it was didn't register, I had to. It's cool. Oh yeah, it's awesome. And it is just a beautiful look.
And like the edge profile and stuff, it's kind of hard
See,
to tell how good
right
that
out.
looks to see it on.
These are a lot easier.
on site.
Yeah, the little, yeah.
Yeah, well, I started out with
Oh, that's a different one. Yeah. No, this is, actually, I'll go get that real quick. I've had a little bit where I bring out.
Anybody that's doing it for rounds and then that's probably to the rounds. Is already set up.
Yeah, that started popping out pretty well. I think a lot of times too, if the harder it gets, the easier it becomes the sand, you know, because when it's gummy, that stuff just doesn't want to let go, and it just keeps kind of hanging on there. Because now those two, once, like I said, I got a little more aggressive with it. You guys are doing this on a regular basis. Hell, I don't want to get to do it every several months.
Example of that Denmark head profile on there. And you can get it blending color or contrasting colors you want, depending on what design you want to, what you want to try to draw out of that. So
very good.
Bet you wish you would have taken that.
Yep. I wished I'd done a lot of things.
See, and I don't remember the tape when I did my first one, and I did the stainless steel, and man, I spent forever in the corners. Seemed like, but
well,
I wished I'd have known.
And these sinks, you've got that other. I could use this one.
Yeah, but see, it's too
shallow because of the handle. We use that in the stainless steel one, and he can go around a corner and really knock it off pretty quick. But the handles are so long.
Now, is that pretty typical in the corners? Could you hold on?
That's off the bottom.
Okay. Could you ease off on your glue in the corner?
I don't want to take that chance.
You just clean it up.
Yeah. I think the tape would be the wise thing to do, quite honestly.
This would work for more sinks if you had a smaller handle. Handle.
And you know, those Korean tools are relatively new in perspective to the overall sink program, so I think that's probably a good idea that I pass that back on to them. Is you know, let's make that with a little shorter handle. It is. There's just this is a 60, or this is an 80, I believe, grit, and that's a 100. You know what? I don't know that it tells.
You know, if you just kind of work it around that corner, you could work it down with that.
Is the sharp edge gone?
See, that's pretty good feeling. You feel for the glove.
Yep. I think it's about done.
No, it does. It feels
but it sure
good
makes
too.
a nice looking. Sure makes a nice looking top. That one's seen better days, I think.
Merry Christmas.
Got a little bit left on it.
Well,
I was thinking about.
Good seal there. I mean, that's a lot better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're listed in that. Should be listed in one of the brochures. Might be the fabrication style we can get. No, that's in that.
Well, you know,
I was worried that wouldn't get a good seal there, but now it's a real good seal.
You know, if you've been in the business long and know what water and woods do, you know, it's one of those things you just kind of, I know my old man would roll over in his grave if you know, we told him we were doing this kind of stuff, but
the best display I ever saw was out at a store out in Colorado Springs, where they had a knife and a piece of vinyl and just all kinds of different things, you know, had a hatchet, and it says, and underneath it says nothing is indestructible. And that's like, you know, he said everything, you know, it's, you know, anything.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to come in. Hope you found value in it.
And you know, this really should have a Scotch-Brite done over the whole sink, and maybe even knock some sanding steps down on it, like you would with solid surface. And
they're the same size, so you know, plumber comes out, puts one in, that's fine. Yeah, they make them.
Or you have to seal that and stuff like that.
Right.
You can't seal them forever.
Now, do you, I like to seal
And like I said, the Wilsonart, there's one in the silicone. It's already there. There's the Wilsonart version.
have you guys done one before?
No.
no.
Brent, can you use plumber's putty, silicone, plumber's putty, either or?
I'll have to say I believe so. I'd have to double check. But
Silicone anyway, but
yeah.
just curious.
I honestly don't know. I think I've read that you could. We'd need to check those instructions probably.
There's one I'm looking at where it's a non-linseed oil base plumber's putty you're supposed to use on it.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know if it's this or.
And some of them actually have a combination rubber gasket on both ends of it, and there's no putty in it. I know we had one of those at the office that we, I don't know where it came from, and we used
Rubber.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of them are the rubber.
Yeah. Anymore.
Oh, for these type of things. Yeah. Now, have you ever tried just using a solid carbide bit and just running Vaseline around there, or is it like the pairing?
I have not.
Yeah, that's rubber. Yeah. We put one in my niece's house out there in Ulysses, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
I don't know if there are those types of people.
You didn't want anything? Wrap me ass with a hose handle.
Fancy, I guess.
Is this done?
I think for all intents and purposes. I think I'm done with it.
Thank you, good job.
You bet. Take care, guys. See you again.
Yeah, take it easy. Good seeing you.
Yeah.
Do these stain?
No, they do not. They do not.
No great deals, nothing.
The corners need to be sanded like the 150, 180, 220. Sand them out because you can feel they're a little rough yet. But no, that's what it is. That's these edges here. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you, I was resisting about getting one in our house for a long time, and now I'm glad we did.
Oh yeah, the water just all
Yep.
over the customers out.
It is. When you're the option between buying one of those and having it put in with a laminate countertop versus $5,000 or $6,000 for granite or soft surface, it gives you a good option. It really does.
Now, I guess the other thing, of course, we won't see that for a long time, but if you were to go back and you're putting a new countertop over it, I guess you guys had run into that issue. You know, typically you have to peel this off and then reseal, clean that edge and reseal.
I don't know that you're going to be able to get that off.
Can you go right over? I mean, just be a little
I
thicker.
you have that other edge. And obviously, like I say, these are so new that
You can sand it down, yeah.
Ask him.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Because that epoxy, I mean, sometimes you can actually heat it and get it to release a little bit.
Oh yeah, you heat to take these off.
Yeah, but once you get to that epoxy,
Where we had all that damn
it's no dice. Yeah, you'd have to
that
sand
damn
it.
vinyl base, that big old thick stuff, you have to cut with that.
Situation, there are those that change their countertops every so often.
But you couldn't go over this? with another camera?
No.
Well, like I say, I mean.
We'll start doesn't
They don't recommend going over this product like you do elsewhere.
right. Yep.
You know, saying that just because of the difference of the material.
It goes back to if the first top comes loose, second top comes loose, and so they don't.
But I mean, there's
It'll
sometimes
still
you've
stick
got
to
a
it.
good.
It'll still stick to it.
Yeah,
There's
it'll
people that'll
stick.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, you put it in there, you ought to be good for a long time. I'd rather have these over the Grand Estes.
All right. Hey, I'll swing by.
The problem with Wilson are how do you become a certified installer
Bye.
for their solid surface?
Randy Burton is the guy in charge of that.
We were talking about if somebody wanted to put
You know, like
another
the certification,
countertop over
certain
this.
amount of dollars.
Say it got marred in some way
Yeah.
without ripping it off. Can you do that?
I would feel a little leery of it. I don't know. Nobody's ever.
Yeah.
I think it's new enough that probably nobody really knows. You know, it would be. I guess it would be worth a try.
Would you do still the bead thing there? Or?
Yeah, you'd still want to use
Definitely
the.
the bead.
You'd still want to use the seam kit.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, in reality, it should work.
You'd have to just rough it up.
Rough it up and get this and put your seam kit in here and
Just be a little thicker. That's all.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, it'd be worth a try. Other
We
than
got the wrong color. You know?
Base for the round.
oh, that would never happen.
We'll just go over it.
Joints, and then I've got the bits for doing the.
Oh,
Not the
okay.
color I
And
wanted.
I've got all this.
Yeah.
And that's glue gun from
That's a good looking top.
It is.
Grouper. They sell their adhesives.
Okay.
This,
The corners need to be dealt with there, but otherwise the straights are good.
Penske sells
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
accessory tools.
Good looking top.
See, honestly, I'm from the flooring side.
Oh, okay.
Hence brand. That I can't change a light bulb, much less put in a seam.
Well, it'd be interesting. Like say if they're easing up on the amount of material you use,
Yeah.
the tools are probably expensive.
No, I mean if you're doing that.
Of course, the thing is they make all their bases, everything's set up for quarter cable routers. That's all right. The quarter cable has a really nice
Right. Yeah, yeah.
3 1/4 horse plug router.
I can do my work for you.
In 3 years.
And at the same time, that's when the government was chastising all the corporations because of their. Yep.